$350 billion program called the Competes Act has been passed by the House of Representatives in the United States Congress to encourage people from all over the world to establish their startups in the United States. Should your country compete for the best tech talent in the world and incentivize them to set up their startups in your country? Or should you support local tech startups only, or both? And if you could vote on this bill directly, would you vote for it or against it? If you're new to my content, One Direct Democracy is a movement for upgrading the global democratic system by taking the power away from politicians and putting it in the hands of the people with direct democracy. It'll also eliminate left and right politics. I've created the technology and a plan for how to make it work. If you want more information, check the links in the description. For each episode, I'll pick an important issue, outline the problem, talk about the potential solutions, and you can decide how you would vote. In this case, we're talking about whether you should be incentivizing tech startups from around the world to establish themselves in your country. Okay, if you're just looking for another talking head that isn't actually interested in doing anything, you're in the wrong place. If you want to be part of the solution, let's get into it.
The House has passed the America Competes Act largely along party lines. The final vote tally was 222 to 210. One Republican voted for it, one Democrat voted against it. There's several of the main provisions have had bipartisan support.
Now, this bill includes multiple objectives, including competing with China and restricting China. For the purpose of this video, I'll just be talking about one part of the bill that relates to competing for tech talent and tech startups. According to this article from Forbes, the House bill would create a new immigrant visa category. The W visa would particularly benefit three groups of foreign nationals. W1s being entrepreneurs with at least 10% ownership interest in a startup formed within 5 years of the date of the visa application. W2 being essential employees of a startup, and W3 being visas for their spouses and children. So the objective here is to make it easier for startup founders to move their startup from their own country to the United States and essentially transform their startup into a US startup. The W visas have eligibility requirements regarding levels of investment from qualified investors and showing that the principal applicants have knowledge and skills that would substantially assist the startup. The W work visas would also allow an initial validity period of 3 years, with the possibility of 3-year extensions and 1-year extensions if investments and job creation meet certain standards. So the bill is effectively giving startups 3 years to succeed, or at the very least, achieve a milestone that indicates that they're on the way to success. At the end of this process, the bill also includes provisions that allow people to convert their W visa into permanent residence. That makes sense because people obviously don't want to move their startups to another country temporarily. They need to know that there's an option to make the move permanent. The Competes Act also provides science, technology, engineering or mathematics, otherwise known as STEM, PhD graduates seeking to work in the United States in a field related to such degree a direct path to legal permanent resident status. So this bill is also trying to attract graduates, not just startups and their employees. Foreign nationals with STEM PhD degrees, whether from the United States or foreign equivalent degrees, would be exempted from the annual green card limits. This would allow these PhDs to circumvent the immigrant visa backlog that so many PhDs, especially those from India and China, currently face. So this is an attempt to prioritize the processing of visas for people that have STEM PhDs over people that have non-STEM PhDs. Applicants for the W non-immigrant work visa, the W immigrant visa, and the STEM immigrant visa would require the payment of an additional $1,000 supplemental fee that will be used to fund scholarships for US STEM students. This is interesting because the program will raise money to fund scholarships for local students that want STEM degrees. Julia Imperatrice, the COO of Weave Acceleration, a business accelerator focused on generating international startups in the US, said, "The Competes Act marks a step in the right direction for the US immigration system, encouraging entrepreneurs from around the world to bring their business to the US and providing them with a specific work permit to do so." She added, however, although promising, the criteria for this new W visa needs to be carefully considered to ensure it will accommodate the talent this act aims to actually recruit. Well, this is just a fact of life in democracy. No bill is perfect, and every bill has the potential for unintended consequences. Richard Burke, the CEO of Envoy Global, a company in the field of global workforce management, went on to point out that 75% of US graduate students are foreign-born, and there is an urgent need to provide them a viable and real path to permanent residence so as not to lose America's investment in them, and to help revitalize America's economy. So this is a reference to foreign students that get a degree in the United States and then return home. Richard Burke is making the argument that the United States would be better off if it actually convinced these students not to return home and to apply their degree in the United States. Other commentators think that if the immigration provisions make it through the process, the United States would take a big step toward increased competitiveness for foreign talent with other countries that make entry and permanent residence for select individuals much easier. Indeed, as a Jackson Lewis blog points out, the United States is a popular destination for startup founders, but many other countries, including Canada, the UK, China, Japan, Israel, Germany, Australia, and New Zealand, are competing to entice entrepreneurs to their shores. In the end, that's what this is all about. What is it worth to your country to have these startups and their employees set up in your country? Francis Simowitz, the CEO of Weave Acceleration, added, "The W-1 visa for entrepreneurs would be a significant step forward because easing the immigration process for a group of people that have not had a dedicated visa classification and who create significant economic opportunities in the US. 55% of unicorn startups, meaning they're valued at over $1 billion, were founded by immigrant entrepreneurs. Many other countries, like Canada, already have these types of visa programs in place because it creates a competitive advantage to attract talent to the country." Now, this is an important point, and everybody in the startup world knows it. For some reason that nobody has really been able to explain, immigrants are much more likely to start a successful startup than non-immigrants. One of the more reliable ways to create jobs in your country is to encourage immigrants to start a new business. Some people don't like what I just said because they don't like immigrants, but facts are facts. Okay, that's a summary of the key issues. Should your country compete for the best tech talent in the world and incentivize them to set up their startups in your country? Or should you support local tech startups only, or both? And if you could vote on this bill directly, would you vote for it or against it? Let me know in the comments. The reality is we've reached a point in time in our evolution where representative democracy no longer serves the will of the people, and the issues that made direct democracy impractical have been solved. That's why I created One Direct Democracy. It's a movement for upgrading the global democratic system by taking power away from the politicians and putting it in the hands of the people by using direct democracy. I've created the technology and a specific plan for how to make it work. We also don't have to convince any politicians or powerful people to do anything to make this happen. We have the power to do it ourselves. We just have to make a decision to do it. If you're new to all of this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, check the other videos on my channel and the links in the description. Direct democracy is the purest form of democracy. Representative democracy is an outdated, blunt instrument.